Good morning. It is Saturday morning, and we're going to go back to our um, Genesis chapter 30, verse 1. I'm going to share what I know about it. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister. Now, it's so strange. I started to say funny, but it's so strange that Rachel and Jacob's stories they keep turning around and turning around on them. Leah, I'm sure, envied Rachel's being loved by Jacob. Now Rachel is envying her sister. And said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. Oh, it never works. It never works. This reminds us of Hagar and Sarah, doesn't it? But did it work? No. But here they thought it would. So Rachel thought it would. So she gave him Bilhah, her handmaid, to wife, and Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Dan meant judge, or judging. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. Naphtali. And that was wrestlings of God. So when Leah saw that she left bearing, she took Zilpah her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, A troop cometh, and she called his name Gad, or a troop or a company. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. In my happiness is what it meant. My, Jacob's just having a bunch of young'uns, isn't he? By all these women. Do they care about him? I don't know. This is some kind of a amazing time there. And this is while they are all there with Laban. And he's tending Laban's flocks. And while he's giving up, when he's doing the rest of the 7 years, I guess. Yeah, he's doing the rest of the 7 years extra years that he had to serve Laban for Rachel, because he gave him Leah first. So they're just having sons. Doesn't even talk about any daughters. All they're having is boys. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy sons mandrakes. Now, I looked up mandrakes, and it seems like it's got some kind of a narcotic effect on people. I guess if you use it in a certain way, maybe drink the tea or eat some of it. I don't know, but it was supposed to be able to help a woman conceive. So Leah had left off bearing, and so I guess Reuben, when he found the mandrakes, thought, I'll bring them to my mama. She might want to have more babies, or I guess that's what it was. And then Rachel, she wanted some of those mandrakes because she wanted to be able to have a baby. And here's what Leah said now. This is a change too. Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my sons' mandrakes also? Whoo, they talking rough to each other now, aren't they? And Leah has forgotten a lot. She's forgotten that she was a trick on him, on Jacob. Not, it really intended to be his wife. She's forgotten, and now she claims him as her husband, which he is her husband, but the reason Jacob married at all was because of Rachel. So here I am taking up for Rachel. I used to not take up for her, but I do now because I think Leah was not being fair. I think she'd forgotten a lot. But here's what Rachel said. And Rachel said, therefore, he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. Was Rachel the one that sent him in? Was she the gatekeeper for who Jacob went in to lie with? They do not know. But I'm telling you, it is weird. That's why why husbands do not have 3 and 4 and 5 wives. They don't, because it makes life strange. The Bible said for a man and a woman to cleave to one another, just a man and one woman. Let's look. And he said, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Chapter 2 of Genesis, verse 24. It's his wife. He's not supposed to have 4 wives. But this is the situation that Jacob was in. And so Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, thou must come in unto me, for surely I've hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. They were kind of scrapping about Jacob, and they weren't keeping it from him. They were letting him know, this is what's happening between us. I guess he didn't care because they were fighting over him. Or introducing other women to him. Or, I mean, it sounds like he's just enjoying himself. I don't know. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived, and bare Jacob the 5th son. So Leah got pregnant that night, and had another son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar, and that meant an hire. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the 6th son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And Zebulun meant, let's look at that, dwelling. He's going to stay with me now. He's going to be my husband. See, that's the way it's supposed to be. One wife, one husband. That way you don't have to worry that he's loving somebody else. That's why God said not to commit adultery. Because then there's this horrible feeling in your heart that he doesn't love you, he loves somebody else. So this is not the way it's supposed to be. But it was the way it was then. And then it says, and afterward she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Dinah, verse 21, it meant judgment. Don't know why. She didn't say why she named her Dinah or judgment. Maybe she just liked the name. Most of the time she's naming them things about their situation at that time. So maybe she thought better of how she was thinking and seeing things. I don't know, maybe the Lord let her see. Verse 22. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son and said, God hath taken away my reproach. Finally. I don't know how long it was, but it was many sons, 6 sons, a daughter, and 4 more sons from the maids. So it was 10 sons and a daughter before Rachel had a child. And she said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph. Joseph meant adding. And she said, the Lord shall add to me another son. Rachel. I don't know about Rachel. I don't know about Leah. I don't know about all these women. But Rachel wasn't satisfied with one. She wanted another one too. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto mine own place, into my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee. Okay, so it was like 14 years. After 7 was when he started having all the wives, and then he started having all the children after that. And it was 14 years since he was serving Laban. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. Laban. Why didn't Laban have his own relationship with God? I don't know. But he said, for I've learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming, and now when shall I provide for mine own house also? And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. So that's what Jacob was doing. He was feeding and keeping his flock. He was working with his animals, his cattle. And he said, I'll do it again if you'll do this thing for me. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, and that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. They don't sound too fond of each other anymore, do they? Laban only wants him so that he can be blessed by God. And Jacob does not care about Laban. He's tired of working for him for nothing, probably getting food. He's tired of working for him for nothing. And now he's wanting to go home, but Laban wants him to stay for his sake, not for Jacob's sake, but for his own sake. So Jacob decides to make a deal with him, and he makes a deal with him, and he's going to keep all the speckled and spotted and brown among the sheep. But he said, if I have anything other than that, you can count it stolen with me. Meaning, we don't trust each other. So, and Laban said, Behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. So Jacob's got his sons helping him work on what's going on here. So his sons would be not too old, but anyhow, he's having them help him. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Now listen to what Jacob did. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of hazel and chestnut tree, and peeled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle, ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and men servants, and camels, and asses. Did this do it? Did those rods that were peeled, put in the gutters and the watering troughs, did they do it? We know they didn't. We know they didn't. And later on, Jacob will know they didn't either. That he didn't have to do that. Did he have to do that? No, he didn't have to do that. But it says, and it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle was feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Now, why were the feebler Laban's and the stronger Jacob's? You know, because God was blessing Jacob. But Jacob had his way of doing things, and he did this, and he believed that when he put those rods in there, that it's going to make a difference. It seemed that it did. It seemed that it did. And perhaps God let it make a difference. I don't know. But I know that that's not the way, usually, the way things work. For you to try to manipulate circumstances so that it can work your way. That's the way Jacob was doing. So that's the end of chapter 30. Very interesting chapter. All kinds of conceiving, all kinds of bearing. But I'm just sharing what I know about the Bible, and I don't know it all. God bless you, and I'll see you Monday.